Hello everyone. Today we're going to learn Redis. We're going to learn about what Redis is, how to install it, and how to use it. What is Redis? Redis is an in-memory data store commonly used as a database or cache for fast access to structured data. Databases store data on disk, whereas Redis stores data in memory. That's all you gotta know. What is Redis commonly used for? So Redis is commonly used for caching. You'll see people saying it is used for caching, and you're just left at that. What is caching? What good does it do? So imagine that you are a user and you have an account for an application, and every time you log in to that application, then the backend will have to process your credentials, it has to validate them, and it has to authenticate you, and it has to make a call to the database. Now imagine millions of users doing this every second, every minute, and just continuous calls are being made to the database. You're adding a lot of pressure on the database management system, whether it be it Postgres, whether it be it MySQL, Oracle, whatever it is. Now, how can caching help? So in backend server-side logic, a developer would write a code block that would store a user's information in Redis in memory so that whenever the backend requires that information, instead of making a call to the database management server, it would make a call to Redis and grab that information from the cache, which is sitting in memory, therefore taking a load off the database management system. So what happens if, let's say, a user's information gets updated in a database, but the information that is stored in Redis as cache still reflects the old data? Well, typically, a developer that would implement these systems in place would have logic for whenever the database is updated or whenever a user's information is changed, that cache would be popped out of Redis, and whenever the user is re-authenticated, then the new updated data would be cached. That's it for caching. That's all you gotta know about how caching really works on a mental model. Another thing Redis is commonly used for is session storage. So when a user is authenticated by the authentication server being used in the backend, then that session key that is sent to the user as a secure HTTP only cookie is also stored in Redis as cache. And what happens is that whenever a user wants to access a protected route, then that session key is automatically sent with every request to the backend, and it is validated by the backend server by checking if that session key is stored in Redis. And if it is there, then the user would be successfully directed to that protected route because they've been already successfully authenticated and their session key is stored in cache. Now, if that session key is removed from the Redis cache, what happens is that whenever the user tries to access a protected route, they will just be automatically logged out and redirected somewhere else. Now, can this be done using SQL database or a MongoDB database or anything else like Firestore? Yes, it can. So there's not just one way of doing things, there's always many ways of doing things. And as a developer, as a programmer, you will have a lot of tools at your disposal to use in your application development and in your backend infrastructure development. So Redis is mostly favored because of its simplicity. So anyone that's ever worked with objects in JavaScript or dictionaries in Python are pretty much 90% there already to understanding Redis. The only thing is just the installation and the setup, just to maintain some sort of persistence if it is needed. And other than that, just understanding the syntax, you'll be ready and up to go. Now I'm going to show you how to install Redis, and then we'll dig right into it. If you're running Windows, then there's really two ways that you can install Redis. First of all, the Windows Linux subsystem, or you can use Docker, which I personally recommend because it is very portable and it just works super well. And for the purpose of this video, I assume that the majority of people are using Windows, so I'm going to show you how to install Redis using Docker on Windows. So now I'm going to show you how to deploy Redis using Docker on Windows. This also applies to Docker on macOS or Linux. I'm going to start by importing the latest Redis image from Docker Hub, and I'm going to run apt update and install nettools. This is of course optional for this entire line. I just like to do it out of force of habit. Then I'm going to expose port 6379, which is the default port that is used by Redis. And then finally, the command Redis server, which starts the Redis server inside the container. Now I'm going to move over to the Docker Compose file. So why am I using Docker Compose? Well, it makes the deployment of the containers very easy. It makes taking it down or deleting it super easy as well. You can do all of this using a single line of command instead of having to go through the Docker CLI and doing it manually. So first I'll start off with services, which defines the containers that are going to be running. The first and only service that I'm going to have is Redis. And I'm going to give the container a name. So container name is going to be Redis server. And I'm going to use this Docker file that I defined as the build. Normally, if you want to do it this way, you can just go image and you can do Redis latest, but then you'll be using the image directly from Docker Hub rather than the image that you created yourself, a custom image, right? The only difference is that I performed an update here on the lightweight Linux distribution that is being used in the container, and I also installed NetTools. So I'm gonna scratch this and I'm gonna use build and dot, which tells Docker Compose to look for a Docker file in the current directory. And then the ports. So I already exposed the port for Redis, which is 6379, and now I'm going to bind it to the local host. So I'm going to bind port 6379 of the local host to 6379 of the container. And then the volumes. So this is mostly the biggest part to why I'm using Docker Compose. I really like it because it allows you to easily create a two-way binding between the local host and the container. So if you take a look here in this directory, I created two empty folders, one called Redis config that has a configuration file in it, and one called Redis data, which will contain the dump.rdb file and the append only file, which will allow persistence of our data if we take down the container and redeploy it. So I'm going to show you real quick what the configuration file looks like. It's very simple. All this information can be found on the Redis documentation under persistence. What this does is that every 60 seconds, it saves the data in cache to disk on the dump.rdb file if 10,000 keys or more have been changed. And also over here, what I did is I set the append only file to yes, because by default it is disabled. What the append only file does is it contains a list of write commands that we gave the Redis server, and the next time we boot Redis, what it does is just it applies all those write commands to it to get it back up to the state that it was before we took it down. And we also told it that it should do this every second. And I put this configuration file over here under Redis config because I'm going to be syncing it with the container. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bind the local directory that I created, Redis -data, to the /data directory on the container. The /data directory on the container is the default working directory in the Redis Docker image. So that is where the dump.rdb file is going to be saved, and that is where the append only file is going to be saved as well, that we're going to use for data persistence. And the second thing is going to be our configuration. Now, I'll get to a second why we need this binded, and we're going to bind it to etc/redis in the container. Now, finally, we get to the command, and we're going to give it the same command that we gave the Docker file, so Redis server to start the server, but this one's going to take a second argument, which is the location of the configuration file, which is redis.conf. And this is why it's important to create a two-way binding for the configuration file, because when we deploy this container, it's going to move whatever's in here. It's going to sync it with this directory on the container. So this can be valid and it can apply the configuration file in the container. So let's go ahead and save, and we're going to do Docker Compose up. And now our container is deployed. Now over here, I can do Docker exec IT. So I'm going to be executing into the container. The container name is called Redis server, and I'm going to be executing bash. And there we are. We are inside our container. It was that easy to deploy it using Docker Compose. So now in the data directory, we have an append only there. So this, if you see this right here, it means that your configuration file was applied successfully, because as mentioned, the append only file is disabled by default. So now to communicate with Redis, we're going to be using the Redis CLI. So the command is Redis CLI, and now we are officially inside the Redis server CLI. So now we can give it commands, setting keys, removing keys, and performing CRUD operations on the database. So this part is super simple. If you are familiar with JavaScript objects or Python dictionaries, Redis is very similar to it. It stores key value pairs. So if you want to, let's say, set a key, and let's call that key cat, and the value is going to be Chester, and you hit enter, now you have a key that is called cat and the value is called Chester. And you can verify that. If you want to check out all the keys that exist in the database, you just say keys followed by an asterisk, and that will list all the keys that are there. So we got cat. And now if you want to get the value of that key, you just use the get keyword followed by the key name. And we have Chester. Let's say you want to copy that key. You can use the copy keyword followed by the key that you want to copy, which is cat, and the destination, which is the name of the new key that you're copying the value into. So this could be cat2. And now if we do get cat2, we'll get the same value. If you want to delete a key, you just simply use the del, delete keyword, and then followed by the key that you want to delete. So let's go ahead and delete cat2. And now if we list all the keys, we just have cat. Cat2 has been successfully deleted. If you want to rename a key, you can do rename, followed by the key that we want to rename, followed by the new name. So let's call this cat1. So now if we try getting cat, it doesn't exist, you get nil. You try to get cat1, then you're gonna get the value. So let's rename it back to what it was. Let's clear it up. Now, let's say you want to store more than one value inside a key. How do you do that? Well, Redis has something called sets. Sets are not arrays, but they're array-like. So an array contains items. Those items can be strings, they can be numbers, they can be objects, it doesn't matter. Well, in Redis, a set can contain multiple values. And the way you define a set is by using sad, which stands for set add. When you define a key using sad, then you are defining a data type that that key is going to hold. Now, when we did cat over here, when we did set cat, we defined the key with a data type of string. That is the default data type that Redis stores values in keys as. But if you want to store value inside a key as a set, then you gotta use sad. So if we do sad cats, and I do Chester, Snowy, and I hit enter, now if I want to grab it, and let's say get cats, you get an error, and it tells you that you have the wrong type. You are trying to get a set using the get keyword, which fetches string values from a key. If you want to fetch a set, then you gotta use set members, followed by the key name that you just defined. And this will fetch the actual value, which is a set, from the key that you defined as a set. How do you remove a member from that set? Well, you can use the sRemove, followed by the key name, followed by the value that you want to remove. So if I want to remove Snowy, I'll just type Snowy. And if I grab it again, we can see that Snowy is gone. If you want to add an item to the set back, then you just simply use sad again, followed by the key, followed by the value that you want to add. And now we can see that Snowy has been re-added to it. If you want to delete a key that has a set, then we use the delete keyword just like we did with other keys. And now if we try to get it, it doesn't exist. It's an empty array. So you can see how simple it is to use Redis. It's just a matter of key value pairs, and you can combine this with the API that's built into Redis with a module for the language of your choice. So if you're using Node.js as a backend, then you can use Node-Redis module. So that way you can communicate with the Redis server programmatically without having to actually go into CLI and doing this manually yourself. You can configure your application using this module to automatically store user sessions, to automatically store users that are queried from the database to take off pressure off the actual database. You can also programmatically set it up so that whenever there is a change in the database, that user is removed from cache in Redis and the new and updated user is pushed to the cache in Redis. And same thing for Python. If you're using Flask, for example, you can use Flask-Redis to communicate with the Redis server programmatically. And this brings us to the end of this tutorial. I really hope that you guys find value in it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and a subscribe. If you've got any questions, drop them below in the comments.